And in FOV's case, if you broke every window in FOV,
2025 prepares to resume from its summer break with the Austrian Grand Prix. Here on the Race MotoGP podcast, we've been compiling our wish lists for the rest of the season. But before we get onto that, some news which we expect to take shape a little bit more during the Austrian Grand Prix weekend at the end of this week. Günther Steiner and his links to Tech 3. We've been talking about this quite a lot during the season so far, Simon and Val. It does seem like things are pretty close to fruition. So, Simon, do you want to run us through what the current state of play is and what we're expecting to happen next?
So, former F1 team boss and Drive to Survive star Günther Steiner has basically put together he's leading a proposal to buy a percentage, we don't know what size of percentage yet, of satellite KTM Team Tech 3 from Hervé Poncharal. The last kind of big update we got from this was when we sat down with Hervé in Aragon. And Hervé being Hervé basically told me everything I asked him because he's good like that, and admitted at that point that he didn't know what size of a percentage that this kind of conglomerate was going to purchase, whether it would be a full buy, whether it would be a controlling stake, whether they'd buy their way in and still leave him in control of it, or where his role was going to fit in kind of post takeover and what was going to happen to him. So we're still waiting to hear those details be clarified, but it sounds like it is at least moved forward now to this extent where some sort of a deal has been done. And I'd imagine even if we don't find out something official in the next kind of 10 days, if I grab Hervé for a coffee, then we'll find out something unofficial, because he likes to tell us these sort of things.
Yeah, when you did sit down with him for that chat about this and everything else going on with Tech 3 and with KTM as well through all the kind of turmoil over the winter, he didn't hold back on anything really. If you're part of the Race Members Club on Patreon, that whole video is there uncut from June. If you're not part of the Race Members Club on Patreon, 90% off your first month at the moment if you head there. So yeah, very unsubtle plug, Matt. Well done. Speaking of other things we've done, we did a full video on KTM's plight and Steiner and Tech 3 on our MotoGP YouTube channel, which you might be watching this on. That was back in June as well. And that includes a section where Scott Mitchellmile from the Race's F1 team chats about his life, sometimes being slapped by Steiner, but their interactions over the years. And just kind of getting beneath the Steiner caricature as well, because obviously, Val, you, like me, you've got a slight foot in F1 as well. Actually, it takes up an awful lot of our time. Steiner is known to the masses through Drive to Survive and loads of swearing, but his CV is so much more than that. You know, he's come through a strong rallying background. He was part of Jaguar and actually maybe one of the more functioning parts of the Jaguar F1 team. He was at Red Bull Racing in its early F1 days, set up the Red Bull NASCAR program. And the fact that the Haas F1 team exists at all is basically down to him and the way that whole deal with Ferrari, which was pretty much unprecedented in the modern era, came together. He's achieved a lot, hasn't he? He's a serious player coming into the MotoGP world.
Or he is a credible motorsport managerial figure. I think if you're watching, well, not necessarily Drive to Survive, I guess, because Drive to Survive does show him get to doing some of his, team boss stuff, etc. But if you're just sort of vaguely familiar with the name, you might think that this is the sort of guy like a title sponsor who's come in and throwing his money around and sort of throwing his weight around. Like a team owner who isn't actually hands-on involved and just makes loud noises. That is not Steiner. Steiner is a motorsport management specialist. You can't really be not competent at your job doing the job that he was doing in F1 for many years. He is, first and foremost, he isn't a colorful figure that you see on TV. He is an F1 team boss with everything that entails. And it's a very, very complicated job. There's a lot more moving pieces than there will be in a MotoGP role of the sort. Autosport reporting, Autosport are the ones who have broken the story that slowly but surely take over the reins of the program from money from an investment called Apex, which seems already connected to racing, including in the Alpine Formula 1 team investment, which I have to admit I don't know very much about, because as you know, just kind of investment companies and venture capital stuff isn't really not really my huge area of interest. I'm not going to
have a stake in the F1 team.
That's true. So do I.
The ownerships.
Yeah, I have to.
He owns a bit of it.
That wouldn't surprise me.
But yeah, I'm just warning you.
David Brazil probably does.
He's got something. for wasting that year or however long.
Who ironically is the track house boss, who is now the Red Bull Racing NASCAR. Just because everything in motorsport's circular, you know?
Yeah. Everyone's a sibling. Carry on, pal, sorry.
I think actually it's really nice to see Steiner also, because it's going to help him move away from the sort of caricature, the figure that he's become also after the termination with Haas, because you start to assess him versus his successor, Komatsu at Haas, and how he's done there, and maybe that comparison hasn't initially been so favorable. The team has seemed a little healthier under Komatsu. At least that's been my impression. And I'm not very often in the F1 paddock, but I'm fairly positive. I've attended sessions with both of those men, and I am very familiar with their driver choices. But it's, as you mentioned, Steiner has a very long history outside of even Haas. He kind of genuinely deserves a chance to run a ship that isn't the behemoth that is a Formula One team. Haas is the simplest F1 team. It's the smallest in many ways, because it takes so much of what it's allowed to take from Ferrari. It is the closest F1 has to a customer team, which is what he will do at Tech 3. But it is still, the amount of moving parts, the amount of budget, the amount of marketing commitments, etc. It's a completely different world. And what this will bring Steiner closer to is, I guess, his time running. He ran a World Rally Championship team 2 decades ago. I think that would be the closest. I think it brings it back more to that kind of route. And not to say that MotoGP is simple, it's not to say that running MotoGP is easy, especially when you have no prior experience in this kind of paddock, in this kind of environment. But it is almost a greater chance for him to see his real imprint and his real effect than it would be in F1 with the amount of moving parts. And I think it'll be very interesting. I think it's just also interesting to see how a person coming in fully from the outside of the paddock will structure decisions. I just want to know, because usually, it's the same people taking MotoGP leadership roles. Yeah. It's either former team bosses who've already done 3 gigs, or former riders who are second team bosses. Yeah. It's not somebody coming in from the left. I think Massimo Rivola is the only, on my mind, the only real outlier, and he's done good. Team. And he's done good.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's whipped his team. It always seems to me like, from someone that kind of watches the business side of F1 more than the actual racing side of F1, it does seem like Steiner has a bit of a bad rap because of a really difficult set of circumstances that he found himself in. Like most team bosses don't suddenly lose their title sponsor to international war crime sanctions. He came through, pretty unusual circumstances.
Yeah, I think there's that element as well. There's lots of other areas. It's a bigger thing, as Scott alludes to in the video we did about this as well. G-Cars, the team owner, has got a bit more interest in the team again, basically since those two things aren't linked. That's basically coincidence in the period where Arsenal was struggling to see the point that the team that showed in the commitment to it, the resources and the direction, and that was the tail end of Interzero. He's also had a better structured team with a more interested owner. He's wearing fewer hats in the role that Steiner was. And so Steiner's used to kind of trying to do about 7 jobs at once. There might only be 3 jobs to do at once, relatively speaking, running a customer MotoGP team. In a more stable situation, that could suit him really well. I think it's going to be fun.
No, I agree. I think what you point out is right, but it also is very interesting to me if Steiner's philosophy of trying to avoid taking rookie drivers for a sort of startup operation, which this isn't. He's going to get a fully MotoGP ready team, and he's going to be, I think Tech 3 and teams like Tech 3 will always be at the beck and call of manufacturers when it comes to who they sign first and foremost, but they still will get some sort of say of it. We know that Haas was really historically consistently reluctant to sign rookies, and the one time it did, which was the Mick Schumacher Nikita Mazepin pairing, it was, as you say,
terrible.
Well, it was terrible. It did not work. Although I think you will find a lot of schools of thought on whether Steiner's ultimate lack of faith in Schumacher was correct or not. That's a whole different discussion for a whole different podcast. But just for our MotoGP audience, that is a big discussion, and that might be the first thing that comes up if you ask an F1 fan about Günther Steiner and the assessment of Günther Steiner's tenure in F1. But Steiner, Haas being the sole American Formula One team, he would always, every year, he would go up in front of the media and have to answer questions about, okay, so why aren't you taking an American rookie? And he'd be like, well, nobody's ready, but also we're just not in a good position to take a rookie driver. It's just not where we are. And it feels like under him, Haas always felt like it never would get there. Like he was too preoccupied with maintaining a certain level of respectability, not going through those growing pains. It was ambitious in that sense, but it's also, it's F1. You can't really afford a season lost, like absolute lost, without, especially in the financial situation that the team was in, and especially because Haas didn't come in under Liberty, it came in a little bit before when Formula One teams were going bust just like that. It's interesting how much of that will survive, how much of those traits will survive going into the MotoGP side of things.
Yeah, I'd summarize what you said there was just like a kind of reign of ultra pragmatism in terms of decisions, basically, which I think is probably a good trait in motorsport for staying around a while anyway.
Tech 3 has the most pragmatic lineup it's had in years right now.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
If you can call Maverick Vinales ever a pragmatic choice for somebody.
He is, if you want someone to help develop your bike and win the occasional race.
Yeah.
He's not a title contender. And he freely admits that, but he's a damn good rider to have in your team at any point. I think anyone in MotoGP would have, there's no team in MotoGP you couldn't realistically see Maverick moving to next year if he was a free agent, and because he basically slots in everywhere. He's that kind of, so yeah.
Yeah, on your third bike that you don't have to count on too much would be my take.
But even then, if you were choosing between Maverick Vinales and Luca Marini for for HRC Honda, Maverick still has
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean? He fits everywhere in some way, depending on who else is there at the minute. And
absolutely,
this is I think the running order means you'll see it first, but we're recording a Rider Market episode for the YouTube channel shortly in this recording session, and I think Simon's just given us a preview. He's going to suggest that Maverick Vinales signs for everyone, which seems more like a Val take to me, but there you go.
I mean, I don't know if we'll get to this in the video, so I'm going to throw it in here. There has been extensive rumors over the last kind of 2 weeks that BMW World Superbikes have went really heavily after Maverick to replace Toprak. Yeah. Because again, he fits everywhere.
Do you think Tech 3 is going to stay a KTM team though? I'm just thinking, obviously, it's going to, Steiner will inherit these riders right now, Anina Bastianini and Vinales, but the future's a bit more fluid in terms of who it ties up with and who it gets, surely.
I think KTM's on more solid footing than they've been on for the last 18 months. And the bike is still it's still the third best bike in the championship, even though they've had no money to do any development for a year. The new regulation cycle is going to help them massively because it's going to be something of a level playing field. And I just don't see anywhere else for Tech 3 to go.
Yeah,
I think Dorna are still in some way or shape or form committed to the every factory has 2 satellites thing.
Yeah.
And although with 5 instead of 6 factories at the minute, at least that's going to be a bit more complicated to make happen. It's still, it basically means one factory, Ducati, is going to run 2 satellites and everyone else is going to run one each. And in that reality, I don't see anywhere, I don't see them anywhere to go. Plus, being a KTM team has the massive, massive, massive benefit of coming with a huge sponsor that just slots in.
Yeah, true.
You don't have to do sponsorship acquisition for a title sponsor when you're a KTM satellite team.
I think it's a question of even if for some reason you suspect that the KTM will be bad in 27, it's for the health of the team in the short term, in the medium term, it is better to be second in command at KTM, second in line rather than third in line at Honda or Yamaha, fourth in line at Ducati. I mean, let's see how the Aprilia situation evolves also, I guess, because I don't know if there have been any conversations about whether Trackhouse is definitely staying as an Aprilia customer, but I would imagine so.
I don't think there's anyone unhappy with their satellite teams at the minute. Especially you'd think of places where Tech 3 would kind of naturally land. They've missed the boat with Yamaha.
Yeah.
If we were having
true.
this conversation a year earlier, then there would be a viable case for them to become a Yamaha satellite team. But Pramac have slotted in there really nicely and are doing a good job. So I think that door is closed. Honda, Lucio Cecchinello will be a Honda team indefinitely, I think, because of the arrangement that they have. And it sounds like that link's going to get even stronger as well in the coming seasons with the Castrol tie-up. So, realistically, do you want to be a third-tier Ducati team like Gresini? Not really.
You can afford that if you have the best bike on the grid, but otherwise it's...
Yeah, exactly. So, no, I see that as being pretty solid. And also, like, from a perspective of this investment group that Gunther Steiner's heading up the bid from, why would you make big, dramatic changes in the next few seasons? Because in theory, this company is buying in. They're an investment company. They're buying into the team to make a profit, which means they're not going to keep it forever. And there's going to be a big change coming. That's what they're betting on. That we're going to see some of this Liberty Magic that hit F1 hitting MotoGP. And MotoGP teams are going to be worth more in 5 years' time than they are today. So why make big sweeping changes that might affect the balance of things whenever you could just kind of remain steady for the time being, sign another 5-year contract, and then see how much your team's worth at the end of it?
And see if the landscape has changed massively manufacturer-wise when the 2027 rules come in and everyone wants to do a massive shuffle. Right, time for your wish lists for the rest of the season, you two. We've been a little bit negative about the 2025 season, which I think is fair enough given we haven't got a title fight. It's a great story watching Marc Marquez show what he could properly do after the 5 painful years. But championship fights are fun. We'd quite like one. Overtaking is fun. We'd like more of it. We're not going to be pessimistic. You might have really pessimistic wishes, but I'm going to attempt to make this an unpessimistic episode. I will rule on the likelihood of your wish happening as well. If you're watching this on Patreon in the Race Members Club, listening to it on Patreon. We're in too many mediums now, I'm getting confused. I write everyone a letter. If I'm writing you a letter on Patreon, feel free in the comments on this episode to stick your wish lists for the rest of the season on there. At the end of the year, we'll revisit yours and ours and talk some nonsense about them. Val, you can go first with your first wish for the rest of the 2025 MotoGP season.
I want to see the Yamaha V4 racing, regardless of how competitive it is.
Ooh.
No, I mean, it's not like a wild card's fine. I would like to make that clear. But yeah, I otherwise, what are we even doing here? I think it has to hit the track in a competitive, some sort of competitive state before the season is out. Ideally, fairly early before the season is out. And if it's not fast enough to actually make an impact on the race's order, so what? I just think first of all, it would be very cool for us because we'd be able to get a lot of data on it, get a lot of comparison on it, be able to, assess where the project is, how much time they still need to bring it to at least a baseline minimum level for 26. Because obviously a 2026 introduction, as much as Yamaha higher-ups are dancing around it, is everybody's express wish and desire.
Yeah.
So as long as they can get it anywhere in the ballpark. I mean, they say that the faster bike of the two will race in 26. I do not believe that. That makes no sense to me. I think, okay, it makes some sense to me, but I think ideally, because you're planning for a V4 future in 27 anyway, that seems clear. If it's anywhere near, then you want to give yourself the extra year of working primarily only on V4 technology rather than splitting your efforts between the 3 fronts as they're doing right now of, current inline 4, current V4 for these regulations, and then the V4 for the 2027 regulations. It's going to be a difficult balancing act because if you bring it in at the start of 26, for example, and it's not very competitive, and then Fabio Quartararo is giving you some real bad quotes in every end of day media session.
Doesn't sound
Fabio
like
is,
him.
He is aware that this is probably, the for the best. Pushing forward with the V4, it is the most important, but he is also Fabio. He wants
He's
to
been
have
the
stuff
guy
to do.
moaning about needing more power. He
Yes.
can't say a word about the development process of the V4.
He can and he will. He can and he will.
He does. We know this, and
But
with reason, given that no other. The ratio of talent versus quality of bike has not been so skewed for any other rider on the grid since he won the championship.
Or potentially ever in MotoGP.
Oh, that's a column.
I mean,
just summarize all of MotoGP history quickly, Val.
Yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds like definitely worth doing.
I mean, Valentino Rossi on a Ducati would argue.
No.
No.
The same Valentino Rossi who was basically neck and neck with Nicky Hayden that second season. That Valentino Rossi.
No, I'm saying that Valentino Rossi had more talent than the bike at the time.
No, of course. Okay, yes, but I'm not saying peak talent. I'm saying like talent accessible in that moment in time, which I think I've stepped into it potentially here. Anyway, let's forget about this.
This is a topic
quickly.
for a different day, but actually I kind of agree with Val. I don't think Rossi wasn't exactly reaching his highest heights during those 2 seasons, was he? But anyway,
I think Fabio is still peak Fabio at Yamaha.
Yes, completely.
That's the crux of my argument. Not that Fabio Quartararo is greater than Valentino Rossi. I'm not saying that. Please don't take it that way.
Next, Val, give us your thoughts on Sepang 2015 to really twist the knife.
Fantastic.
You know what Sepang 2015 needs? More French involvement.
Anyway,
another
V4.
passionate fan base. Anyway, sorry, Val. V4s.
The V4, it'll be would be good to see Augusto Fernandez roll out in it in one of the wild cards. It'll be good to see the lap time. It's probably a pipe dream at this point, but it would be good to have it actually race some other bikes, like as in not.
Yeah. Okay,
that it's not so far back that it's like actually at least taking on other test riders is what I mean.
This for me has sold your argument basically, because I was going to say, they need to race it, because that's great for us to see, but if they've got private testing going on, they can run it at the Misano test. I'd love to see it run at the Misano test, so we at least get some comparable lap times. I was like, do they need to race it? And I was like, no, they need to see if this bike can race other bikes, because Yamaha spent years building a bike that is gloriously fast all by itself, and then when another bike turns up and you can't run your ideal line, it's something your lead rider just rants about. So I think I see your logic, Val. I'd love to see that bike on a MotoGP grid with Yamaha learning and showing us something before this crucial season. Simon, do you think the chances of this actually happening are particularly high? I feel like the V4, even turning up in like group tests, still remains something that keeps being hinted at in conversation, and it gets to Yamaha and they just go, no, not yet, not going to happen yet.
I can see a reality that Val's going to hit here. The timeline that I see, so looking at the way that we've seen this timeline, right? I think Yamaha have kind of built out a timeline for us where, first of all, they refused to say anything about the bike existing. Then they confirmed that there was a V4. Then the riders were allowed to talk about the V4. Then they released a little bit of photo and video and audio of the V4. I think the next logical step now is that the bike will appear at Misano at the post-race test, where we will all get to see it. And then for me, the next logical conclusion of that is that Augusto Fernandez races it in his Motegi wildcard at a track where they've probably done, or we know they've done quite a bit of testing with it already, where there's data, where there's, gearbox ratios already designed for it, etc., etc. I'd be quite surprised if it doesn't appear at Motegi. I think that's the logical conclusion of it. However, I think there's also a possibility that Motegi being Motegi, it's going to rain all weekend. Yeah. Augusto's going to be really good in the wet. He's going to finish like P8 in the race, and we're going to have absolutely no idea how good the bike actually is.
But Val will be really happy that Augusto Fernandez has got an 8th place.
I would just be happy Augusto Fernandez is on the grid.
He's going to go. Yeah, he's going to go P1 in the rankings and stuff like that. It's going to be. It's going to be.
He's a good wet weather rider, so
He is.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of likelihood of this happening, I started out quite low, just like for the same reason Simon highlighted there, with Yamaha having initially denied it even existed. That time frame, the fact that a Motegi wildcard follows the Misano test so closely, is quite neat, isn't it? I reckon 70% chance that will happen, but as for whether it actually continues racing into 2026, as logical as that really should be, this is Yamaha and engines. I'm just, need to see it. Right, Simon, what is first on your wish list for the rest of the season?
I want Marc Marquez to win the championship as soon as possible.
100% done.
But I want him to win at Misano. which is statistically possible, but it means that Alex
Is it?
basically, if Alex misses all 4 rounds,
okay.
if he doesn't score in all 4 races, which is a stretch, but
Yeah,
it is
the word
statistically
possible is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
I think we've seen a few glimpses this year so far of Mark being willing to kind of sacrifice race results to have good fun in races, where he's like clearly had so much more pace than everyone else, but he's made it interesting. And I want to see him win the title and then be champion and not have to worry about winning the title, so that he can actually like start entertaining us a bit, putting on a bit of a show in races, because the potential is there. I basically don't want us to get to Phillip Island with the title still on the line, for him to do that thing he did in 2017, where we had an amazing race for like 25 of the 27 laps, and then he just cleared off and won by 4 seconds. I want to see him in the fight until the end of the race. And I think that he enjoys the battle enough that that is actually possible, and that we might actually get a bit of entertainment value out of the last races of the year if he's not concentrating on winning a championship.
Well, I had something along similar lines. I was like, we need a Mark race that's Coda 21, basically, but on the current bike. Coda 21, I think that's the right year. It's the one where he, for some reason, whatever happened at the start, went to the very back and then fought through. And you kind of want to see what would happen if Mark was sent to the back at the start of a race not at a very Mark heavy track and in normal conditions, but also not in a too Mark unfavorable tracks, like a track where you can overtake, but it's not super easy.
Yeah,
a track
mid-range Mark track.
Yeah, a track which spikes from tire pressure. I'd like to see how many laps can he actually do this for.
Indonesia, basically.
Because nobody can follow, right? Except for Mark, who apparently can sit behind another bike for however many laps he wants, and then not lose any performance, and then go through and then just continue running super high pace. It seems to be not a problem for him. I think that would be the cleanest lab experiment we would have of, okay, how much have you actually got this season? Please show it to us. How much is actually there? How much are you just sort of pace managing races and just leaving everything in reserve for the final laps to then clear away by 2 or 3 seconds? Show us what you've got if you actually have to overtake 16, 15 riders in normal conditions. Where are you going to end up? What is the pace going to look like? I think that would be a lot of fun.
Wasn't there a 125cc race towards the end of his title-winning season there, where he started from the pit lane or something, and it was just ludicrous how quickly he came through that?
There was one where he crashed on the sighting lap.
That might be now.
Started from the back. The other benefit for me of this is that hopefully with the title decided, it then convinces Alex Marquez to race Mark like he's not Mark.
Yeah.
And just be a bit more risky around Mark, like we've seen him be with other people over the last few races. And maybe, Mark is faster than him, and Alex doesn't make these moves on Mark because Mark's faster than him, like he keeps telling us. But maybe if Mark kind of leads him on a bit, it'll convince Alex to be a bit of a lunatic, and that'll just be good value too. I'd love to see Alex kick Mark's ass in a race.
When he said kick,
genuinely love to see him. I mean, we've still got Sepang to come, and that's an Alex strong track.
It is, yeah.
Literally
kick. Exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
Appropriate. 10th
But I genuinely would really like to see Alex just destroy Mark in a race this year at some point as well. I think it would be good for that kind of drawing a line onto that narrative of this season as well.
Yeah, that I would give that like a 5% chance of happening on absolute merit. What I can see, not sadly, because I like the sibling storyline, but sadly for the spectacle, I can see Mark doing Alex a few favors until.
I really hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and that'll feel a bit contrived. I love their relationship, but I don't want to see it kind of steering a world championship motorsport series to that extent. But I think until a Marquez Brothers 1-2 is firmly secure in the championship, and I think Pecco Bagnaia will help that by continuing to have the season he's had so far, I think we'll still be a little bit vulnerable to those two just racing in ways that ensure a Marquez 1-2 is going to happen in the championship, and then hopefully they go crazy.
I think Mark would try to put his thumb on the scale on that one and try to ensure that Alex comes home second in the championship. I mean, and I say that as somebody who's on the record as caring 0.0% about second in the championship. That's not.
Oh yeah.
It's not a thing, but they would like it. I'm sure it would be quite nice for them to end the season that way. And I do expect that if the title gets sewn up very early, then we'll see a hint or two of that outcome being pursued.
Yeah. So other than Alex kicking Mark's ass on merit somewhere, which I've given very low percentage chance of happening, I think basically 100% chance of Mark clinching the championship at a very early stage, Mark then having a load more fun, Mark then helping Alex a bit too much, and then those two go nuts at each other at some point towards the end of the season. And if Pekka, I wonder how much Ducati might care about a championship 1-2 with the factory team. Probably not as much as the Marquez family cares about a championship 1-2. Probably definitely more than Pekka cares about being second in the championship, because I imagine that means 0 to him.
And also having Mark and Pekka 1 and 3 in the championship with Fermin Aldeguer as Alex's teammate will be enough to ensure that they win constructors, teams, and rider championship, which is something they do care about.
Right, Val, back to you for your next wish for the rest of the season.
It's a boring one. I want Fermin Aldeguer to settle down and Ayagura to get out of his funk, and I want to see like the real level now. I think we're past the sort of rookie betting in stage. This is kind of the moment in the season where I want to see what those guys actually are on a day-to-day basis as MotoGP riders for the future. That means no injuries. That means hopefully fewer clumsy crashes out of good positions in races. I know they're rookies, but you want to see what it will look like for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And because obviously at this point, with Ayagura having had a recent rough run of form, people seem to be forgetting how good the start of the season is. And with Fermin, it's hard to say whether he's like settled down or just caught a bad run of races, but there's still clearly things to work on. I don't think we've seen quite the same lightning fast late race speed that we've seen in some of the earlier rounds of this season. I think qualifying still needs to come along quite a bit. It's very difficult to be a rookie in MotoGP, but they are also being talked about, I think, moment to moment in ways that don't necessarily tell us very much about who they're going to be, about what teams should do start to think for 27, about what future prospects are for both in terms of factory rides, etc. I mean, they're two very, very exciting, very interesting riders, but I want to see a MotoGP length proof of concept rather than this round by round thing of like, ooh, this was a lot, or ooh, this was not good at all. I want to be able to establish a baseline level of understanding of what's going on.
I mean, Fermin is having the textbook super fast talent, which is really, really quick and really, really dumb. And I think he'd agree with that assessment. That's kind of his assessment on it too, that he keeps making silly mistakes, and that's all part of the rookie learning curve. But as the rookie learning curve goes, it gets to a point where you have to stop making some of those mistakes. We will by the end of this year, we will go to circuits where he is no longer a rookie, essentially, because by the time we reach Sepang, Barcelona, he's been there before in a MotoGP bike. He's not a rookie anymore per se. He's done more races already than some people did in the rookie season not that long ago. So it is getting to the point where there's less excuse for them. And where he has to start kind of delivering on some of the promise that he shows every week, I think. I think that Agura's problem has been the injury at Silverstone. I think that has dented his performances more than we probably anticipated, given that it wasn't that severe an injury at the time. Or it didn't seem to be that severe, but it has obviously dented his confidence to an extent, and just things haven't quite been the same since, which is unfortunate for him because it's happened as the bike has improved.
Yeah.
And he's kind of been left, in that situation where the bike is better than he is at the minute. But I think he'll find it again. I'm curious to see what a home race does for him, because that can be a bit of a make or break thing. A lot of people get to their home round and they're suddenly amazing. And it might just be what he needs to get himself kind of back on form for the end of the season.
Could flip though, couldn't it? You
Yeah,
see
yeah,
both sides of
absolutely
that.
can.
It could be like too much pressure on yourself in your home race, and it's
Don't really think he's the type, though.
no, you're right.
He's one of those people who puts a massive amount of pressure on himself all the time. It seems, he's constantly Mr. Miserable, unhappy with his own performances. So I don't think being, unhappy with his own performances in front of a home crowd is going to particularly change that.
We might just find out if he's on the circuit PA at any point from native speakers that he's even more furious with himself in Japanese than we realised in English.
I mean, based on the length of his English debriefs versus the length of his Japanese debriefs, I think that's probably the case.
Yeah, understandably. I've really enjoyed both these two being around this year. So, Valby mocked you for your Aldegar enthusiasm when he was having his Moto2 wobble last year, but he's proved that what Ducati saw was real, I would say. Yeah, he's had textbook rookie season in terms of, oh, great, oh, shunt, what was that? Agura's had the other kind of textbook that goes, bright start, and then a crash, and a wobble, and then you see what happens next. I take your point, Val. They've both got to prove something more sustainable now. I feel like we've had a generation that we've now learned everything there is to know about. We know which riders of the kind of late 2010s, early 2020s arrivals don't transfer well between bikes, don't have a lot of variation in their game, aren't consistent enough. We know which of that lot are going to win titles. Agura and Aldegar, we don't have the full data set yet. They've both done really, really, really good things. You can't doubt their talent and their ability to ride a MotoGP bike fast and race it well. That is in there. Now it's down to how much they can access it, how to deal with the pressure of actually having some proper expectation in the years to come as they're not rookies anymore. So yeah, we've got a zillion races left this season. That's long enough for them to show something really tangibly consistent, I hope.
I don't think it's unrealistic that Aldegar doesn't win a race this year.
Like, isn't realistic that he might win, or
Yeah. South Island.
Yeah, there's
somewhere like that where he's really quick, where it's a bit of an open field.
Yeah.
None of that's unrealistic. Like that is, the level is there. Whenever he doesn't make the silly mistakes, the level is super, super high. Like, it is consistently podium level, and then he self-sabotages. But if he can
qualify,
he needs to qualify a little bit better. But
no,
I don't
think a
it's
little bit.
substantially better.
I would think it's a fair bit.
And also,
He's had a few good ones, hasn't he?
Yeah,
He's
he
not
has.
consistently dropping out Q1 and stuff. But
I think that more depends on the Ducati than on Aldegar over a single lap himself. If you trace the gaps weekend to weekend, it feels fairly consistent in the, I would say, 6th, 10th range to mark. For me, that would be the impression. 6th, 10th is a bit too much for me.
yeah.
I don't think it shouldn't be consistently 6th, 10th. It can be 6th, 10th, that's fine. But it shouldn't, you should have a weekend where it's like a couple, and we're not really there yet.
I get that, but if it's a case of Ducati having stronger weekends relative to the opposition, still meaning that he can have that 6/10 gap and be quite high up the grid, we're going to have those races at times in the rest of the season, and he can win. I don't see why he can't win one of those races in probably some crazy circumstances, probably with Mark in party mode, maybe with Alex in party mode too. But yeah, I can see it happening. Also, I feel like I've seen enough to know, we talk about the comparison to Alex right now, I feel like we've seen enough to know that Aldegar in the 5th year of his MotoGP career will be a better prospect than Alex is in the 5th year of his MotoGP career right now. The raw talent is high.
I mean, you put him on the Honda for 4 years or whatever, then maybe not.
Yeah,
I think that's hard for Alex.
Yeah.
Kind of, not because, and again, it's hard from Alex in the same, but right now Alex has the best bike on the speed grid. But you mentioned that thing about it, knowing everything there is to know about most riders, and I think that's probably true. But at the same time, there's always the unknowns that do exist. What would happen if Alex Marquez suddenly got the best bike on the grid? Well, it turns out really good things would happen. What would happen if Franco Morbidelli got the best bike on the grid? Well, it turns out not as good things, but still, pretty good things, but not amazing things, etc., etc., etc. There's, I think, for a lot of those guys, the answers to those questions might not be what we think they are, which, we can't run this experiment a million times over and see, like, what's Somkia Chantra going to do on a factory Ducati? I mean, I'd love to know, genuinely. That sounds like a very fun question to me, but I haven't the foggiest idea.
I'm not sure it'd be that impressive. sadly.
Probably not, but
I mean, I've kind of hinted before that my wish list for the MotoGP's future is a mandatory season on Grassini running a year-old version of the best bike on the grid for everybody.
for everybody, yeah.
Everyone should have that. Just okay, that's where you stand. Now we know.
Is it all of them at the same time, or is it them taking turns?
Taking turns. So it just has to
They're
happen.
going to have rookies turns to everyone gets it right.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 rounds. It's tough races. We do it all in the season. That'll be fun.
I like the idea of a single mate series.
Just Grassini.
Yeah, just ranking that kid in a bunch of GP24s. Let's get on with it.
I should enjoy that.
It's running around between debriefs, 5 minutes for this debrief, 5 minutes for this debrief.
That is exactly what World WCR is like.
One press officer who just runs back and gets a rider every 5 minutes to bring him into the media center.
Simon, run this idea plus ranking. That'll be funny on the rest of
He'll come and find me if he's listening to this, which he does. Completely unrelated, but this is like the sort of random fact I don't ever get the chance to do. You mentioned Mark and Hardy. And Alex Rins had a spare button on the Suzuki Dash that they set up as a party mode that he could push in a slow and down lap, and it switched off all the anti-wheelie and anti-skid so that he could so that he could show off his slow down lap.
Maybe that was what he was looking for on his bicycle when he went into that van. Anyway, retro. Chance of Eldica and Agura showing what they really, really are. I think 80% in the rest of the season. This is an optimistic podcast. I like exciting new talent. I've dismissed the class of 2019 to 2021 as like having shown what they've got. Yeah, let's see something really good from Agura and Eldica. They've got it in them.
Class of 2019, by the way, the best MotoGP rookie class potentially ever. So
that's your column you can write after that one when you say Valentino Rossi wasn't very good.
I'm pretty done. For the listeners' benefit, Fabio Quartararo, Pecco Bagnaia, Joan Mir, and Miguel Oliveira.
It's pretty
decent, isn't it?
It's pretty good.
Simon, your
around
final
8,000.
wish. Well, you've got reserve wishes, which we'll rattle through. You get like 2 seconds each on them. But your final wish, whether we're going to talk about properly.
Well, I don't really have a reserve because I realized that I can cheat and combine my two other candidates into one. So I'm going to do it that way and just say that I really, really hope that both Jorge Martin and Pecco Bagnaia find their mojo at some point in the next 8 races for the good of the championship, for the benefit of 2026 being closer, for my own sanity as I try to find more ways to write about Marc Marquez winning races, as the Dorna graphics team struggle to find more pictures of Marc to use in winning posters. Just for the good of everything, I hope that those two are back at the sharp end again. I think with Martin, it's more of a sure thing because the Aprilia looks pretty good at the minute and he just needs a bit of time on it, but he's already come back pretty strong. And you have to think like by the end of the year, he's going to be there at least once or twice. And then that bodes well for 26 and an actual strong season now that he's finally admitted that his best career option is probably to stay with them.
The one he chose in the first place.
That one.
The ridiculous thing about this comparison, though, is as soon as you said that, I straight away had the same thought of, Martin probably will. I don't know about Pecco, which is completely crazy to think that the guy who stayed in the best team on the grid that he's been with for forever has less chance of having a stronger end to the season than the guy who has broken most bones in his body a couple of times and his lungs and tried to leave his team quite abruptly and stayed after all slightly against his will maybe and hasn't got the best bike on the grid and has missed most of the season, has a better chance of having a personal performance-wise relatively strong ends than captain stability Bagnaia.
I disagree. I don't think that's unusual at all. I think if you put Marc Marquez on the other Aprilia next to Jorge Martin, Martin will try to sign for BMW Superbike at the end of it. Nobody wants that.
Okay,
that's the only thing. I'm kind of a broken record on this, and annoyingly so, but that's the thing. There's no escaping it. It's inevitable. That's what has come for Pecco Bagnaia this season. We all kind of expected it, and we all know it, and there is no fixing it. There is nothing you can do. You just accept it, and you try to wait it out. That's the only thing. I don't know. The big boss has arrived, and you have to wait him out.
We saw this week, didn't we, that Teddy guys have been at Balaton Park doing some superbike testing, like on their stock machines. With very interesting quotes about the standard of the circuit. you have to think that every opportunity that they're together now in those kind of informal situations, Pecco is just casually being like, so if you ask GG if you should try the GP24 at some point, like, hey Mark, you should, what has Alex said about how great the GP24 is? Like, oh, that GP24 looks like it would be a better fit for you, Mark. You know, just doing everything possible to get Mark to convince GG to revert back for next season to that bike. Because the GP25 in Pecco isn't going to work.
No.
Unless something radically changes.
I think he should do something different then. I think he should be like, hey Mark, I've seen Jorge's Honda offer. It's like he's got more zeros than I've ever seen. Maybe you wanna talk to them again. I have their number right here.
Yeah, and then during that conversation, Joan Mir high sides past both their heads because it's still a Honda at the moment. So yeah, although I think we're not going down this tangent this week, but the fairy tale of Mark going back to Honda, I think the chance of that increases more as Ducati, as he just ticks off every single milestone he possibly could with Ducati than actually as Honda improves. I think, yes, Honda has to not be a complete shambles for him to go back there one day. But when there's almost the last thing left to prove to complete the circle is to rejoin Honda, have the romantic end, and
I think the Ducati dominance is almost making it inevitable that he goes back to Honda.
It's almost going too well for that.
It is. You know, we've used the analogy before, but it's like he's playing in easy mode, and I don't think he enjoys that particularly, even though it's nice to be winning and stuff.
I think if it went terribly, he retires. If it went medium, he sticks around for quite a while. But the better it goes, the more you're like,
yeah. And if he wins 2 titles, which he's probably going to do, then he beats Valentino Rossi's record. And going back to Honda is the ultimate. Then that becomes the ultimate stamp of Marc Marquez is the GOAT. If he goes back to Honda and wins another one. Then I think that makes that argument for us to an extent that I'm not comfortable doing right now. You know, he really is the greatest of all time at that point.
What if he goes to BMW World Superbike?
You say that, but by that point, Aaron Canette's going to be double world champion on him.
Yeah.
So you're not going to want him.
Good. Cyclical somehow wrap up. On the Mark topic and the retirement thing, it just reminded me when we did the Mark Marquez hypothetical. I thought we did so well to not spend like 10 seconds going, he wins everything, to answer every question, and then just moved on. We got a good hour of conversation out of that. But so many of the questions that put him on Ducati at different times, we went down the path of he wouldn't be racing now because he'd done everything he needed to and ticked everything off and be done. And I think that is one of the likely conclusions of this season. He'll either retire sooner or get off the Ducati sooner just to keep himself interested, which is probably good news for Pecco Bagnaia in terms of that relationship is strong enough that he may well still be at Ducati by then.
But Pecco will be.
Yeah, what will his standing be at that point?
Pecco will be at Ducati until he wins another title for them. That's the bare minimum, I think.
This is good. We're going down a 2030 predictions line now. I like that.
Do you want my reserve?
I'd love to have your reserve. Before I was about to just like throw in that I think Ducati's next world champion will be Tony Aldegar. It's gone full Aldegar, Val style nuts. But what is your reserve wish?
No GP26. Let's not do this. Let's just have everybody on the GP24s next year and see how much the others can catch up and whether that gives us a good season. No GP26. I know GG's, I'm sure, has done a lot of work, but let's brick all those computers. I guess. Sorry, GG. Thanks for your usual effort, but we kind of need this current trend of conversions to continue. And I'm afraid that if GG Delinia gets a redo on the 25, like a proper fix, I know that the engine spec is more or less frozen, but clearly you can do stuff around that and stuff that impacts the performance quite significantly. So let's not do any of that. Just keep it. Just keep it what it is.
There's one problem with that, and that is if you tell GG Delinia he's not allowed to do any work in the GP26, and the GP27 is going to be top, like they're going to be 6 bikes in the top of the championship by 400 points.
That's 2027 Val's problem.
yeah, fair.
It's kicking that can right down the road.
2027 Optimist Matt goes, at least a few other teams have thought kind of that way. You know,
Honda seem to be the one that's thinking that way the most.
Yeah. I'm more worried for, obviously worried for KTM because I'm maybe slightly worried for Aprilia in terms of to be able to make this bike quicker at the moment as well and save this season.
Yeah.
I worry about how a team of that resource is getting ready for 27 at the same
I think
time.
KTM are probably in quite a good spot because they've been in a development freeze, not through choice. But genuinely, it means that actually things are probably kind of more focused on 27 internally anyway, because you would imagine as soon as they realized that there was no money to do any work on this year's bike, that they were kind of telling themselves, right, let's just concentrate on 27.
Yeah.
So they're probably not in a terrible position, and now there is money again.
They've kind of been forced to
Yeah.
like a little bit, or at least should have been.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I've enjoyed how much this end-of-season live conversation has also covered the early 2030s, the 2027 regulations, and reassessing performances of the 2011 and 2012 seasons.
We can do a review of Blade Runner 2049 or something. Even further.
I don't even know what that is. Let's end this
my
podcast
God.
then.
I have one more wish list for the year. I really want a couple of proper, not nonsense flag to flag, proper wet races. Because they've been we've had a few good, entertaining ones, like Hensey ones this year. I'd like a proper wet race or two, just for my own benefit.
Yeah.
Like Motegi for it to rain start to finish.
That seems fair. Yeah. I can't promise weather, so I'm not going to put a percentage on that. Oh, percentage on Pecco and Martin getting it together. 40 for Pecco, 80 for Martin, I reckon. Right, Race Members Club, Patreon comments, deluge us with your wishes for the rest of the season. We'll reply to a few on there, and then we'll see how all these turn out, and our wishes as well at the end of the year, and probably look back with great sadness, or be celebrating an Aldigo victory sweep to end the season. Everyone knows the Marc Marquez story, the rookie title, the insanely dominant 2014, the whole career with Honda that seemed like it would go on forever until the broken arm, and then all the other injuries, and then Ducati Renaissance that's proved so much this season. But what if he hadn't gone to Honda? What if he hadn't broken his arm? When we asked you for your Marc Marquez related questions as part of our competition with our partners Insta360, we had, as you'd expect, a deluge of hundreds of them. Lots of our favourites were about the what ifs. The what if he'd been on a different bike at a different time? What if he was on a different bike right now? How different would MotoGP history look? So for the final part of our series of Marquez-related specials with Insta360, me, Matt Beer, Simon Patterson and Val Hurinci are gathered on the Race MotoGP podcast to basically rewrite history and look at some ways MotoGP would look different if different things had happened around the phenomenon that is Marc Marquez. We've got quite a few of these to get through, and we're trying to get through them quite quickly, knowing that tangents will occur in anything hypothetical. So going straight in, the first question we're going to go for in this episode is from Johan from Norway, who says, given what Marc Marquez has accomplished on a Ducati over the past 2 seasons, how do you think he would have done if he'd ridden the Ducati from 2017 through 2020? So I love how specific this is, not just for like the last couple of years when Ducati's been really dominant, but basically the Dovi era. How would Marc Marquez have done on that bike? Val, you answered this one. We did a bit of a tease with this on the race website, so go for it. You go first.
Yeah, you get the feeling that, I mean, I guess he wins them all is the easy answer there, and it's sort of the simple one. I mean, Dovi was runner-up 3 times in 17, 18, 19. Mark is better than Dovi, so the math is simple there. And then 2020 was an open goal. It was an open goal created by Marc Marquez's injury. At the start of the season, he was going to win that season on a Honda that was no longer as good as the Ducati, so if you give him the Ducati and keep him healthy, in theory, it's as simple as he gets that one over the line too. But, you know, we're talking also adaptation period. Jorge Lorenzo at the time showed, maybe Jorge Lorenzo wasn't the most adaptable rider, but he showed that getting onto a Ducati from Yamaha proved like a 14, 15 month job ultimately. And Jorge Lorenzo's input into the development process of that Ducati is what a lot of people will link to the fact that the Ducati became what it is right now, which is instead of a machine with some very obvious strengths, not, you know, straight line speed, sort of, you know, sharp corners, not really corner speed, just anything that isn't corner speed basically, turned into a bike whose strengths are everything and whose weaknesses are nothing. And again, like Jorge Lorenzo, whatever role he actually played, however it would have played out with a different rider, we certainly do know that he was a crucial element on Ducati's path to this modern bliss that it has with all riders being able to ride its bike. Would Mark be the same? I don't know. I don't know that the Ducati will have become as strong as it is right now under Mark, and that's not to compare Mark and Jorge's development riders. That's to say that Mark would have clicked faster, and there may have been the Honda problem of, well, this doesn't need a root and branch change. This doesn't need a fundamental overhaul. If Mark is already succeeding on this bike, with Jorge Lorenzo, they paid him a lot of money, a lot of money. So they had to. Then they were already pot committed to do fairly extreme things on his side of the garage to make it work. They did make it work. They did make it work for a very long time. Obviously, he was done just as he started winning, got injured too. So we never saw the full potential of that. With Mark, that necessity, that urgency, maybe wouldn't have been there. I still think that if you look at what the bike already was at that point in time, if he stays healthy, there isn't really anybody who stops him those years, is there? Unless that means Lorenzo stays on a Yamaha.
Well, this is the big thing with any hypothetical. What if this person's on this bike then? Who's on the bike that they were on? So, Simon, who do you think's on the Honda in 2017 to 20 if Marquez isn't? And what does that mean?
Oh, you put me on the spot now. I don't know. Who ends up at Honda? Maybe someone like Alex Rins? Maybe Maverick Vinales? It would be someone fast and young and Spanish. To join Pedrosa. It would definitely be someone young. But I mean, the Honda at that point was already starting to fade. That was the beginning of the end of the Honda dominance. So whoever it was in for a hard time, and they weren't gonna deliver much. They weren't gonna affect things substantially. Maybe it was gonna be Jorge Lorenzo. I don't know how that ended. Whenever we did get to see it eventually. But for me, the only thing that really changes that whole period is that Dobby wins more races. Because I think while Mark's adapting, Dobby has a chance to win a couple more races to add to his CV. But I think ultimately Mark wins more titles because he wins 20. He doesn't fall off and hurt himself pushing like an idiot. And I think that it would have made racing more dull for those few years. Because 17, 18, 19 was the last era, at least for now, of bikes that were substantially different, that meant that you rode corners in different ways and set up all those like cliffhanger last corner battles between Mark and Dobby or Mark and Fabio Quartararo. And I think if you put Mark in a Ducati, Dovizioso loses some of his strength in those battles because Mark's suddenly riding a bike that brakes as well as his and his accelerates out as well as his. So there's no opportunity for Dobby to be smart the way that he was. And I think just racing becomes a bit more processional a bit earlier, and Mark wins everything and is like still winning titles now on the Ducati.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. If he turns up on the Ducati in 2017 before the Ducati's definitely good, then that relationship doesn't. But if anything, that would have to involve Mark getting bored. That relationship break at that point. Maybe he's not even right. Maybe he's done by now. Maybe he's had so much success that he's actually.
That's a realistic thing, yeah. Because he's beaten Lorenzo, he's beaten Rossi's records, he's beaten Agostini's records. He's the greatest of all time statistically. Game over. Bye.
He's just Alex's manager and coach.
Yeah.
He might be gone in 18. At the end of 18. I think that's possible.
I think the Rossi record is the thing that he's still chasing to this day.
So Ducati paid out for Lorenzo big time in 17, 18 and course corrected very significantly after that, and to the point where we still talk about Ducati as a manufacturer that doesn't offer huge base salaries and compensate through with bonuses, but generally it just isn't the place that you go to make bank necessarily. That is not its reputation. We're talking about Mark, who never ended up having his big Honda payday for 4 years. Well, 3 years it ended up in the end. We're talking about, I think, some career earnings left on the table. We're talking about other manufacturers, specifically, I think, Honda, again, having the financial muscle to compete. And we're talking about if he comes in and he starts winning on the Ducati right away, he will maybe not wrongly think that, I can do this other bikes too. So I wonder. I just don't see it being like a 6-year thing, an 8-year thing. Not really.
So he goes to Ducati. He wins 27, 17, 18, 19, 20 on the Ducati, and then he's the 2022 KTM World Champion.
Or something like that. Yeah, sure.
22.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a world in which KTM itself lose fast Marquez, possibly, if this is happening.
Or a world where it's easier to get Marquez.
Yeah, because he broke with Honda on it. Yeah. Well, and breaking with Honda was the big decision. Once once you've committed to a life of
Exactly. So if we presume that he's gone in 17, then he's an easier free agent at the end of every contract.
Yeah. Okay, this was a very fun start already. Let's stay on that kind of tangent. We'll stay in this kind of era rather, because it's another Dovi related one. Tim Ross asked, what do the last dozen years of MotoGP look like without Marc Marquez? Does Dani Pedrosa get a championship? Does Dovi win titles? Does Alex Marquez win this year's title? So now we're completely removing Marquez from history. Val, you answered this one in the website version, but I'm going to let Simon go first this time. So Marc Marquez just isn't a thing. What happens?
The Pedrosa bit is the really interesting bit of this for me, because does the bike then become more Dani friendly and less Marquez friendly? Does Dani crash less because he's riding a bike that's a bit more manageable? Or does the Honda still, inevitably go the direction that the Honda goes and becomes what it became that forced Marc to leave? That's the question, because if the Honda continues its trajectory, the one that we saw, the one that we got to see, then Dani never wins a title. Anyway, because he just gets injured, as he did in real life. Dani's, I know that the reason Dani didn't win a title is because he was always up against great riders, but a lot of that was before Marc turned up. And after Marc turned up, Dani did a lot of time falling off and hurting himself and spending time watching MotoGP races, in his hospital bed, getting arm pump surgery, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think it changes things substantially for Dani. I think Dovi is definitely a MotoGP World Champion in that world. But I think that right, so Jorge Lorenzo will win more at Yamaha.
And stay longer, I would guess.
And stay longer. But then the question is, does Valentino Rossi sneak another championship in? I can't believe I'm going to air this in the podcast. Does he win 2015?
Well, there'll be no one next to him. He'll do that kick just at the air, just like a little celebratory kick, like a ghost of a future that doesn't exist.
I mean, I think Rossi wins another title in that one.
We'll find out who just has an itchy leg, like Clint Boyer in that NASCAR.
No, Jesus, what a reference! Incredible, phenomenal. That's interesting, because it's really tempting to just look at who finished second. There's guys, but clearly it would not work out like that. Things that happened at Marc, even when he wasn't winning, as you say, 2015 played a big role in how that season turned out. Like everything changes. There's one vacant Honda seat at a time where Honda is one of the two manufacturers that you go to, and there's no other. So obviously the interest in that and the fight for that is insane. I have to imagine that, it's possible that Rossi Lorenzo lasts further as a sort of friendly ceasefire, but it is also possible that it falls apart earlier with with Marc's absence. Suddenly, they're fighting for more earlier. Maybe Rossi slightly more in his prime, although it took him a little bit to get it back up to speed in the Yamaha return after Ducati, didn't it?
They took it to 15.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Marc's absence at that time, obviously puts Jorge Lorenzo in a great position to win a couple. And then whether that impacts how much longer Rossi stays, or whether Rossi, it starts being higher stakes between them in the absence of certainly Marc's dominant start to 2014. Somebody has to go to Honda. That sounds like a threat, I guess, but somebody has to go to Honda.
Probably the random winner from this that you'd never think is Cal Crutchlow. Because Cal Crutchlow becomes a Repsol Honda rider in this world, I think.
but not for long, you'd imagine.
I mean, he was consistently kind of the second best performing Honda rider through 17, 18, 19. So there has to, there was always the talk about, is he going to get a chance of, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe Cal ends up on a Honda, wins a few more races.
To me, Cal's impressive Honda stint is so much in a Marquez context, because I felt like Cal was the person who got his head around what to do in a Marquez-dominated Honda, what the bike could do, what it couldn't do, and when the result was there, and what his function was better than other people did. So I don't know if Honda takes Cal as seriously if it hasn't got the Marquez context to put Cal into.
Does Andrea Iannone's career change completely? And I think it does, because at that point, suddenly, in the absence of Marc Marquez, the gold standard for riders who go super fast but maybe can't always be 100% trusted. I'm not saying that Andrea Iannone is Marc Marquez, but I'm saying he's like kind of like a store brand version of Marc Marquez in certain ways, I would say.
Last corners in Argentina.
Yes. Sure.
Our first corners in Balaton, as we saw this weekend. Like, he hasn't lost that skill.
But MotoGP collectively decided across what happened at Ducati with Andrea Dovizioso and what happened at Suzuki with the engine and the slightly unfavorable comparison to Alex Rins at the end of it, that he was basically more hassle than he's worth, and he's prodigious speed required. But suddenly, if you create a power vacuum at the top, then a lot more manufacturers go, well, wait a minute. Like, if we the difference now between fully unlocking this guy isn't like second place maximum, because Marc still exists, because Marc cuts off all routes to the top.
Yeah.
No, Andrea Iannone is suddenly maybe you go and you look, is this the most like talented guy on the grid apart from Rossi, who's 40? Well, I'm hyperbole, obviously.
I can get more hyperbolic with this, though, because genuinely, during the Moto2 years, I was convinced that Andrea Iannone was the only person who was a raw speed match for Marc Marquez from that generation coming through. I was absolutely certain of that based on what they were both doing in the intermediate tier. Obviously, Andrea Iannone's career then goes off the rails for all sorts of wild and increasingly wacky reasons. But no, in our 2015 Revisited series for Patreon, which will resume shortly with Silverstone, and a lovely Danilo Petrucci interview about Silverstone that Ollie did for us on a Superbike weekend. I cannot wait to bring that to you. We will get back on with 2015 on Patreon very soon. But yeah, 2015, doing that series has made me think about Iannone's best bits so much, because so much of the first half of that year, he was getting the job done when Dovi wasn't. And it just feels like his career turns on, I was going to say very small things, very attention-grabbing things his career turns on. But it's like, once he's lost that Ducati seat, everything else is a desperate attempt to make up for his career going off course. If he doesn't take out Dovi in that race, being very generous, everything is different and brilliant from there. Being more realistic, he takes out Dovi at a different race and everything still falls apart. But you're not mad, Val, to say that with no Marquez, Iannone gets taken a lot more seriously. However, I think my other theory on this is even better news for you particularly, because if same principle, if Marquez isn't there, who is the rising star? Who is the young person that everyone wants? It's Maverick Vinales. Surely he is the mid 2010s rising superpower.
He probably doesn't go to Suzuki, does he?
Because Honda comes in, or Yamaha comes in. If there's a
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dope Chick episode number 71. Rostermania is well and truly still underway, and over the last week or so we have got a lot more clarity on what these top teams are going to be doing. Big rumours about what Falcons dropped over the last few days, throwing 2 million racks around apparently, or $2 million, dollars. 200,000 rack, whatever, to go and get Scrappy out of his contract, but that may not be happening. Nadeshot said no, the Falcons tax is coming through in force. And what about the rest of the teams trying to form teams? Are FaZe going to be any good with their new roster? What are Toronto cooking up? They're bringing back Phoenix and Insight again. are any of these teams going to be good enough to take down Optic next year? Gentlemen, we've got a show on our hands. Don, welcome back. It was a pleasure to have you on board last night for the BOII Awards. We can talk about that a little bit, some of the controversy, but it's good to have you back in the building.
Yeah, we back. Hopefully I don't miss another show. I only missed one, so hopefully I don't miss another one. But yeah, we back. W show on the way, man. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. This is a highlight of my day.
High praise.
That's nice. That means he likes us. So it means he likes spending a couple hours. You know, I just spent 2 days with him. Now everyone thinks we're a couple because I posted a picture on Twitter. They said we just got married.
Yeah,
You know, so it is what it is. Just want to, you know, we'll stay live on that. We'll stay live on that. Me and Rab both don't swing that way. Nah. Just an FYI, you don't swing that way. You know, it's funny you picked it up with name and tweeted, so I thought, you know what, I'm a nabber. That's what we do over interactions. But listen, WrestleMania is on the way. It's looking good. It's been a juicy one. You know, we got Ray out to talk about. Verbal agreements, you know, we got orgs crying over verbal agreements. Like, listen, you know, when I was 10 years old and I asked my mum, could we go somewhere, and she says yeah, and then doesn't do it, you know, I was upset too. I really was. But I didn't make a fucking Twitter announcement about it. I just sucked it up, and then we went again next week. So, you know, verbal agreements are not particularly like, you know, what we tend to go off, but yeah, sure, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's crack right on with the show. Thanks to Prize Picks ever supporting the show this season. Yeah, the CPL year might be done, but doesn't mean there isn't plenty of other sports and esports fun going around the world right now. If you guys want to get involved, use code Breaking Point. Link in the top line of the description, code $50 and your first $5 pick. Download the app, all that good stuff. Let's get right into it, and let's just dive into the award show for yesterday. We saw a bit of controversy. Obviously, we were getting the awards straight, so I just like a couple comments on the way that things were run. I think in hindsight, for some of the fan voted awards, it might have been good for us to like bring up the percentages. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that some people were getting a little bit mad about it. I feel like people were taking it a bit too serious. But like, I mean, we took it pretty serious. We were dressing up like it was all good. But yeah, there was a bit of controversy about the awards. That guy COD discussion was going up on the main stage. That's actually why Khan was tweeting what he tweeted. He says, he goes, BOII Awards, don't lose sleep over BOII Awards, you'll be okay. So yeah, this is a tweet that Damon did at COD discussion, the replies. It was all going on at the time last night.
I mean, shout out to everyone that watched the BOII Awards. I'm telling you, it was an absolute stellar.
It was great.
You know, we had Zoomer with 10,000 people watching. We had 1,000 plus. You know, we've got Damon tweeting on the timeline. We've got COD discussion crying 24/7. Listen, if you're gonna sit there and cry about some fucking awards that no one actually really like gets an award for, it's online. You know, if you want to sit there and cry about it just because someone won it, because we done fan votes, like, yeah, of course fan votes, majority of Optic are gonna win it. Like, are you dumb? Like, don't sit there and cry about it. How about you fucking do something with your life instead of crying about stuff online all the time? Go touch some grass. Alright? Have some fun. Smile about it. Because, wow, you're a boring bastard.
Trey's in rare form today. He's in rare form today.
I'm just
the ticket conductor's pissed him off, man. He's going rogue.
I agree with everything you said. I mean, the one good part about it is that I agree. Like, there's nothing like serious about, like, nothing too serious about the awards. But the fact that people are getting that worked up about it, like, means we did a fantastic job. That means that people
emotion.
Yeah, right. people are actually putting some weight onto these awards. You know what I'm saying? So that's good for us, bro. I mean, it'd be nice if hopefully like more and more we do it. Like, it is taken seriously. It'd be a good thing for, like, you know, maybe some players like it, maybe some players don't. At the end of the day, you don't get paid for it. You know, it doesn't affect you. Does it affect you getting on teams? Maybe. Maybe the awards are like, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe they matter.
Maybe Embos gets a raise because he's
MVP awards. Get that in the contract. If you get MVP of the BOII Awards, you get like a little
put it in the contract.
I just, you know, I do love like Don said, the fact that a lot of people did get angry about it and stuff like that. But you guys have got to remember, don't say the BP awards are ass or something like that, because there's a lot of good people that put a lot of hard work behind it just for entertainment for you guys specifically. Like, we had we had a producer on the mic. That's why me and Rab were wearing earpieces like it was an MI5.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
We had producers in our ear. We could.
That was really cool.
We're not saying everyone, obviously, there's always going to be stuff like this, but you're getting this stuff for free. Like, you haven't have to pay a dime for this. This is love of the game.
This is so love of the game. Like,
this is the most love of the game of all time. We need to do this because we want to grow COD. And obviously, like Don said, people crying about it, whatever like that, put some weight onto it, but at least show some love too,
Yeah.
Yeah, the boys putting in work, like Easy Mac, Line Man, putting so much work getting all the graphics ready and everything for next year, or for this year. I was going to say about next year, because you never know, say next year we might just hire out a damn arena and run this in person. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, listen, I did walk into your apartment complex and there was a red carpet with a couple taps there, but
yeah, I mean, that happens.
I mean, that was just, it's like I can't even travel publicly these days. I get swarmed. It is what it is, but I made it there. We done what we could. We had a great time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there was even some of the ones I didn't agree with. You didn't see me go on Twitter about it.
Yeah, we just got posted out there.
Right. The other awards that people were saying, like the LAT awards, called the LAT awards. I mean, people voted for them. Like, it wasn't like literally the thing. Who all voted? Like, just name a couple of people. Like
the flank.
So Zuma and all them voted. Aches.
Yeah, the flank voted. Us, like we voted.
The Optic guys voted. So like Zen.
Yeah. So what? So Zen voted. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it was just
the full list, but I mean the list was pretty substantial because there was about like almost 40 ballots, right, that came in.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying I'm just trying to name the people. I'll just give an example because like
the fan vote had a part to play, but like the majority
all voted for it.
Most of
we
the
all
votes
voted for Scrappy.
community.
Scrappy was the MVP. You know what I'm saying?
But listen,
like they were good.
The fan votes weren't for anything like really super serious in terms of like AR Player of the Year.
I think it was factored in like to a percentage basis, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like it. Most of the things were just defined by what the people voted for.
Yeah.
Apart from like
it was accurate.
Like all the coaches
wanted
did
to-
it, I think.
Yeah, we wanted to get like community outreach on some on the funner ones, best clip of the year, best show, whatever like that. So, Gersh did text me this morning as well. He was appreciative. He was appreciative of it. So, it's lovely stuff.
Should we
Absolutely.
put Scrap 5th for MVP? I don't know. You'll have to ask Easy Mac. He knows. I went back to look at my ballot to see what I put in, but it's been deleted, so I can't see it. But I can ask Easy Mac and I'll send it to you.
Wait, is he deleted?
Well, I went to the link he sent me initially, and like I think he copied and pasted everything into another document, so I couldn't see what I actually voted for. But I can figure it out. I did.
I've still got all mine there. I've still got all mine there.
Okay, I might see if I can find mine in a second, but
Yeah, no, Rookie of the Year for me, I done Rencor, Super, Merc, X-Nid, Lunas.
yeah, so that's like fair and reasonable.
MVP, I done Scrap, Shotzi, Dashy, Celium, Huke.
Interesting. We'll see if I can get mine up real quick. If I can't, it's all good. But yeah, that was the BP Awards. There was some 250, 249 bangers. I understand it both ways. There's going to be some debate, but that's what it's all about, right? Like, if we're not initiating debate, then what is the point of being around the scene? So that was the BP Awards. The next thing I wanted to get into is the Spanish Civil War, because I found this pretty funny. So if you guys haven't seen this going around, Real was on Miami. Now, Rencor was wanted by FaZe, but Miami said, no, we ain't selling him, because as we said last week, if Rencor gets sold, they're cooked. Right? They obviously need to keep him. So they basically told FaZe, we're keeping him, unlucky. And that's how it looks. Now, Toronto have wanted, they've wanted Rail before. Now he's a free agent. They went out to try and get him. They told him, okay, we're going to triple your salary to bring you into Toronto for Koi for the new year. But we know that they tried to do that before. They tried to buy him before, and Miami fucked him around. That was the rumor anyway, but they tried to buy him, and then they told him, or they got told that, yeah, we'd sell him, and then they didn't sell him, and it was all sorts of drama, and eventually he stayed in Toronto, even though Real's been quite hot property over the last couple of seasons. Then he's an unrestricted free agent, his contract is over. Toronto offer him 3 times his salary. Miami come back and say, all right, please stay, we'll match the offer. Real then tells him, all right, that sounds okay, but at the same time, apparently you've got Method Sick telling him that in order for that to happen, some of the other lads are going to have to take pay cuts. So then Real's like, all right, screw this, I'm going to go to Toronto after all. And then, with all that happening, he presumably signs the deal with Toronto. And then Miami put out this statement. And you've got to respect Spanish card, haven't you, Trey? Like, these guys, it's passion over there. It's
I
always,
can't respect that.
There's no
respect
passion.
that.
So the August come out and said, at 12:59 Central European time, he verbally accepted the conditions, and then he's gone back on his word. We understand that he signed. We strongly reject the breach of verbal agreements as it damages the trust and respect that should prevail in our industry. To our community, we reaffirm our commitment to the continuity of the project. So they're pissed off with Toronto as well, because as far as Toronto, the way that Miami are looking at this is that Real and Toronto have betrayed the Spanish community. That's like the way that they're reading it, because the Spanish scene, they have a great team, and Real leaving and Toronto poaching him is like a betrayal to Spanish card. That's like the way that they see it, and I find this all pretty funny, Trey.
Listen, the fucking guy is an unrestricted free agent. You've done it to yourself. Respectfully. Now, what's this verbal agreement stuff that, like, you know, it's like I said, like, if I tell my boy I'm going out on a Saturday and I don't show up on a Saturday, that's on me, alright? That's on me. I lied. That's on me. That's all I can say. Apologies. I lied. Not doing it, alright? I don't get what the issue is, really. You know, Real came out and said what he said. Methods also replied saying it wasn't true about the players dropping his salary. He said he was going to drop his salary. Hey, let's just do something real quick. How about no one drops their salary? And you know, how about no one drops their salary and we just pay the boys a little bit more? You know, let's just keep everyone. But no, they didn't want to do that. They tried doing the London Royal Ravens. It didn't work. Now Real's gone to, you know, the counterpart of the Spanish org. And, you know, listen, if I'm making a roster choice, you know, if I'm deciding where I want to go, and my guy Ivar tweets me with 16 million followers,
He has done that.
pleading his case on why you should come play for me,
It's a strong argument.
I'm going there. No questions asked, all right? Let me sign the contract. I won't even verbally agree. I'll sign myself away. Yeah, listen, you know, heretics clutching at straws, in my opinion, for something of a verbal agreement. Someone asked, like, oh, will that hold up in court? Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. He said he was going to play with us and then left. I found guilty. Like, no, it's just... It's how it is. The players are tweeting him, like, wishing him good luck. Obviously, the players are going to be in the same situation. Like, the players are going to be happy with what they've done either. So... It's whatever.
What do you think, Don, from a player perspective?
I mean, I think Real is being a real, you know what, real motherfucker. Not the other word. He being a real motherfucker. He looked out for his homies. Obviously, I think the kid is gross. I think he can play with people that speak English, because he's been in 8s since at least at MW2. I was playing a lot of 8s with him, and he was always good.
No, he wasn't on Phase. Yeah,
He was on Rocker Academy.
He's been around.
Yeah, he was on some. Yeah, he's been around the Americans, and he's always not like he'll fit right in. Looked out for his homies. I mean, there's not much to say. Like, bro, orgs will just drop you and backstab you in the worst situation. Like orgs will do. I don't want to give too many examples. I was thinking about an example with me, but like, don't orgs. They are. You are on the team if you're performing well. As soon as you start performing bad, they are praying to get rid of you. They don't care about you. They can spin it however way they want to. If Real was trash, they would have dropped him. They would not care about him. I mean, I know Eric Boom had great success in Challengers this year. He won a Challengers event, but he didn't play well on the Heretics. Did y'all do a crybaby cheese for Eric Boom? No, y'all didn't drop Eric Boom on this goddamn thing. Y'all sent Eric Boom back to his country, and now he's trying to make it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be mad when a player does what's best for them. It literally makes no sense. Like, staying loyal, he was loyal to him. Leaving was him showing loyalty to his homies, to his teammates, because his teammates are in a situation where I don't think they know it. I mean, apparently you said Rencor had an offer from FaZe. That's crazy, but like, more likely than not, they're gonna stay on Heretics. It's a Spanish org. You're gonna play with Spanish players. Like, they don't need to take a pay cut. Super doesn't need to take a pay cut. Rencor doesn't need to take a pay cut, and Metals is the role player on the team. I mean, maybe you could argue him to take a pay cut, but like, I'm assuming he's not getting the most money in the world to begin with. Like, are y'all giving Metals 400,000? Like, if y'all are giving him that much, then sure. Like, what are you guys doing? But I don't know. I'll never be mad at a player for doing what's right for him.
Yeah, and I think my other argument on it is like, also thanks Luke for the 5. Bro would rather play with the 0.7 snail, aka Insight, rather than Rencor. Bro is on Mars. So we'll get to that in a second, where he's going to go and what that new Toronto team is going to be. Thanks for the support on the show, everyone, as always. But the point I was going to make, oh my god, up pass line with the 50. Much like with DJT, I'm done defending the shortcomings. Simp is not the future GOAT, and I think his career takes a turn for the worse at this point. Maybe unfaded, but we've seen great players unable to form winning teams after a while. Gunless, that we're putting Simp in the gunless category. Well, it's a big 50 bomb. We'll definitely get to that when we talk about FaZe, because there's a lot of debate on his best days behind him. We like that take here on the Dope Check show. But look, if you're Heretics, right? Yeah, Real left. He said he was going to stay. He left. But it's not like you were about to sign another player and you said no because you thought you were getting Real. Like, it's not actually affected them at all. Yeah, it's bad, and you want to come out with your statement publicly to say like, oh, Real screwed us because he said this and then he did something else to like make him look bad. But the reality is, it's not like he screwed you over from a business perspective. He decided to leave, and he was going to leave, and he was able to leave. He was an unrestricted free agent. So it's like, I don't know, it's pretty crazy to me that it's got to this point, and you see all the tweets flying left, right, rhubarb. But look, he's gone. They've got to do something else. They've got to bring some other options into the team. And yeah, it was just all going on, right? Because he did his own tweet and said, this is the saddest thing I've seen in a long time. None of the bosses talking about, obviously, this was the pay cut thing. And then Method 6 said that, like, he said that, but maybe that wasn't true. And then we had this tweet. So Rencor came out and says, my time will come. And Real replies with the SpongeBob gif with him in prison behind bars. So Real's making it pretty clear as to the way he feels about Heretics right now. Like, he thinks that Rencor's... Now look, I will say, I get a bit annoyed with the players often talking about, oh, I'm stuck in contract jail. You don't get too many players talk about it nowadays. And I get it from the players' POV, but also, look, if you've signed a contract, if it says this, the org can do, like, you know what I mean? The org also has rights. Like, if they put a bet on you and gave you some decent money to expect you to be good, and then you played well, right, you delivered, and somebody else wants you, like, yeah, they're going to try and sell you for money, right? So if FaZe want to go and get Rencor and they want to, FaZe want to pay X amount of money, like, okay, Rencor might want to go to FaZe in that situation, but this is the rumor anyway of the last week or so. Ghost of Hope said it. Obviously, we don't know how reliable that is, but assuming that he's reliable, that FaZe were interested in Rencor, then yeah, okay, maybe Real's right. Maybe Rencor and Real have had a convo, and Rencor's like, damn, I want to go to FaZe, but they're keeping me they're holding me down. But it's, it is what it is. They're within the rights to do so. Maybe they'll give him a bit of a pay bump next year that they were going to give to Real to try and get him to stay. But yeah, Real clearly ain't a very happy man with the way that Miami have treated him. And I don't really blame him because, like, Real did a lot for that team. He was a key part of that Spanish success. And then on his way out the door, they kind of say, this guy was an arsehole.
Yeah, just to put one more comment on what you just said, like, just because I've been in that situation, Rav, and it's fucking annoying. Because I've been in it multiple times, so once it happens to you once, you learn, okay, there's nothing you can do, handle it professionally. Then 2, you also learn that opportunity I had, like, for example, in Vanguard, right? Trey's team hit me up, Boston hit me up. They didn't hit me up again.
Yeah.
Those after they hit me up, but obviously I'm under contract, so I'm like, damn, Boston's going to champs, Ravens going to champs. I could just go to their team and go to champs and compete. A year after that, I messaged Boston, no response. Year after that, I messaged Ravens, no response. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like you never know.
We didn't have the funds, Donnie. We didn't have the funds.
So I understand why.
You told us 15k buyout. We thought it was reasonable. London said, hey, no, it's not good enough. 15k is too much. We said, all right, boys, start scrimping about. How can we pay for this? We need Donnie on the spot. I'm sat there like, I'm on the min, boys. I'm out. I can't afford it. No, can't do it. Not me. I'm looking at Byron and Afro. This one's all you, fellas. Didn't happen. Man, oh
Boston
man.
too. Boston, same situation. They're like, buyout, chop. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's just like, from Rencor's point of view, I would be fucking checked. Because it's like, damn, I can join FaZe. But next year, what if Rencor's mid? That can happen. Like all these teams we're finna talk about too, like, I personally think the FaZe team that with 04 and Abuza and Draz and Simp, that might be godlike in a COD where it's just not head banging, head bash. But if the game is like BO6 where it's just pace and head bash, now I'm like kind of looking at the team, I don't know about this team. You know what I'm saying? Things can change from game to game. So you don't, in that situation, it's so annoying because you're like, damn. Like in BO4, I could have joined LG and teamed with Formal and them, but I'm under contract, so it's just chalked. But like now that was an opportunity for me to play with the person I think is one of the GOATs of COD, and now I'm just sitting here getting top 12. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm trying to act like a crybaby. I'm like, get me on LG or get Hook on my team. That's literally what I told my org, and they at least got Hook on my team. So then I was chill.
Yeah,
but like it's just so annoying in those situations.
When I wanted to go somewhere, Don, I just refused to play. I said, okay.
Yeah, but that, I don't like that.
Hey, I'm not
it's leverage,
playing.
Baby. It's leverage, baby.
What you gonna do? Get rid of me? I'm on a free.
That's true.
It is cheeky, but like, what the incentives are like.
I said to, well, this is when I was on Orbit. I said, all right, I'm not playing then. So if you won't let me go or sell me, or for cheaper, I'm not playing. Next thing you know, Patrick goes, I'm bringing a lawyer into the call. I say, hey, hang on a minute. I ain't got lawyer money right now. What do you mean? I'm just trying to be weird.
It was just his mate putting on an accent, like he didn't actually.
Yeah, no, he was fucking good at it. Let me tell you that. I had me fucking scared. What? You gonna sue me? I'm playing then, absolutely. Right? Are we?
Yeah.
He's actually finessed you there.
Yeah.
Boom. We got Real Jam in the chat. Any explanation for this tweet? It's a good tweet. I don't know what it means though. Can't figure it out. I'm just trying to figure out what this tweet means. But yeah, congrats on the contract. But
we are accepting donations, Real.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, listen, it's all public now. You tripled your salary, so that means like triple donation.
Yeah, when that hits the bank account, it's gonna be sensational, I'm sure.
You know. Isn't it crazy how people like hold that, like try and like hide their contracts and stuff like that, and you just got the whole Spanish team just going, yeah, we've tripled the salary, blah blah blah. Like,
that's going crazy. I actually, I love this from Rencor. Like, Rencor's just a great guy, man. I just, you can't not like this guy. But I mean, look, I will say, Real, look at the tweet. He may have made mistakes in how he handled things or the way he did them. Interesting. Anyway, Renkor
And he said
says
he hopes he said he wishes you the best. It's not when he plays in.
yeah, he says I hope everything goes great for you, except when you play us. But it's a good treat because I did feel like the way the Heretics like closed it all. As I say, when a player's given a lot to their org was part of the best year in the history of their franchise. Whatever happens, at least like pat them on the back on the way out. Do you know what I mean?
Real moving like Figo.
Yeah, at least Renkor did that for the org. Yeah, at least Renkor did it, but on behalf of the org to say, look.
Yeah.
Thanks to
Listen,
Real
all
for
I'm
his
saying
time.
is, I respect the hell out of Real for just ditching a verbal agreement. I respect the living fuck out of that.
That's some trade shit right there.
That's some trade shit. Facts. I'll do the same shit. Just keep everyone happy.
Yeah, we play the politics. It's part of the game.
Listen, there's a reason politics. Listen, you just finessed a whole entire multi-billion-dollar organization or multi-million-dollar. Sorry, just because you can.
Why not?
No, you said you were gonna stay. Well, I didn't. All right, I didn't. I'm off. Gone. See you later.
Well, Rael says I had an issue with the org, but we already talked about it, bro. In full caps. So yeah, there you go.
I mean,
well,
listen,
exactly.
you can see a bunch of beef kind of go down because it's two Spanish orgs that want to be better than the rest. It's like
there was
it's another
already
Saudi
drama
Arabia.
between Miami and Toronto anyway when they tried to sell him to them before. So I understand why there's like holdover beef.
Hey, all I know is Real is a hot commodity right now.
Yeah, he was going to go to Optic.
You know, he's a hot commodity.
He's
All I'm
good,
saying,
bro.
Real, like
Bro.
he's still got the Heretics affiliate badge. It's interesting. Is this
I
their
never said
final-
I was
is this their
signing one.
final attempt? Oh, interesting.
He said I
Okay,
never
we
said
got
I was
intel.
signing 100%. I said I agree to the terms and they can start working on a contract. Absolutely.
Yeah. See, to be fair, like that's
That's
reasonable,
not a verbal
right?
agreement. Mate. He still needs a contract. If the contract was there ready to sign and he said he was going to sign it,
Because if it's not on paper, why is it useless? Yeah, no, I totally agree, Rael. I think that's bang on the money, right? Like, they gave you their verbal agreement as to what their terms would be, and you told them, if those are the terms, sure, I'm down. But obviously, when they draft the contract, there might be a little line at the bottom. There might be a little clause they put in. So obviously, you gotta
tiny
clarify
writing.
that.
The tiny writing that says
Gotta
like
get the
Real has to
lawyers
join
on
OnlyFans or something like that if he signs a contract.
Absolutely,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It could
So
be
they can
anything.
pay to keep Renkor's salary as high. And
Exactly.
then eBay comes on with the bag, and it's like, well, yeah, damn right, I'm gonna go play with Joe.
Yeah, and he tweets Real with 16 million followers. I would have left too.
Yeah, and spark up a bit of drama with the Spanish scene.
I just saw iBuy with 12 million live viewers on Twitch. I would have been out of there too.
Yeah.
I'd be asking for duo streams.
Heretics
in the
trying their
contract.
best. Yeah, unfortunately though, I've talked to Heretics are talking to their lawyer and verbal agreement is requirement, so he will be in touch.
Yeah, you will be getting sued for saying yes.
It's all good, but you can pay for the lawyers with the eBay bag.
I'd actually hate to go against eBay. That's got it.
I like Renkor's tweet though. He says, "My time will come," and then he does his tweet of him in the Heretics jersey. So he's locked in. I respect it. Out of Renkor. He's putting on
does he
he's
want to
putting
be
on a
locked
good front
in though?
for the team. Nah, I don't want to.
Yeah, he wants to go phase, isn't it?
He's putting on a good front
Yeah.
though. He's putting on a good front.
Yeah. He texts Simp saying, "Yeah."
One more year.
He texts Simp.
One more
He
year.
texts
mama.
Simp. He texts Simp said, "Listen, mine wasn't a verbal agreement like Real was actually did sign. Like a fuck that. I'll see you in the trenches. Maybe next year. I got you."
Damn right. Okay, quick aside. Actually, we'll come back to the one final thing on this in a second, but I do want to say, as we're running this show, EasyMac is unveiling the final pieces of the top 20 players of the year. So again, the same voting that we did, the same panel, put together the top 20 players. Top 20 so far is looking like this. Nasty coming in at number 20. 04, Ghosty, Draza, Abizi, Real, number 15. Kleenex, Super, Abuza, Renkor coming in at number 11. Then number 10, we had, was it Joe Deceives? I think we had Joe Deceives was coming in at 10. Number 9 was Simp. 8 was Poop. 7 was Neptune. 6 was Dashi. 5 was, a little scroll up, Celium. And then if I hit the refresh, I think we're just popping out the final 4. Number 4's gone to Mercules, so there you go. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty with everything. We'll probably have a look at it in the coming days. I had Envoy about 14th, 15th, which maybe was a bit high, but like he didn't even make the top 20, which I thought was a bit insane personally.
Wait, he didn't?
I don't think he did, right?
Oh,
like his Envoy's not.
Yeah, I didn't hear his name. I didn't hear you say his name, so shit. Damn, I voted for him in the top 20 for sure.
Yeah, I think maybe he ended up 21st or something.
So did I, because I copied Don's list.
Yeah.
So we all voted Envoy, and damn.
I definitely had Envoy like kind of high.
I think that boy is dog shit. Yo, what the hell? They think that boy is doo-doo.
Yeah, so Envoy got cooked hard by the end of season voting panel.
Unless he's first.
Unless there's a surprise in store. But I think when there's only 3 guys left in Mercules is 3 and we've not yet had Hydra, Shotzi, or Scrap,
Yeah,
I think
those
we
are
could
the top
probably,
three.
we could probably guess where Envoy was. So yeah,
Envoy was 21st.
Yeah, he picks up an Envoy launching. Yeah, Envoy was 21st. I think it's pretty crazy to me.
Damn.
I mean, I guess.
Hey, if that proves something, ladies and gentlemen, don't sit in the hill.
Yeah,
Bro, he was good this year.
Yeah, he was very good.
He was good.
I find it interesting
was like,
how the
what?
recency bias gets some players and doesn't affect others, because that's for sure recency bias Envoy being 21st in my opinion.
One thing, I mean, I did not have Abuza that high, but I mean, according to the players and the other people that voted, I mean,
The players do rate Abuza quite highly.
Players rate.
They do rate him a lot.
They rate him. So
He's got Rab blocked on Twitter, so there's no point in trying to get Rabs in. Rabs.
Yeah, I
Rab
didn't see his contract signing gift coming up.
48.
I could actually try and find that bit real quick. Anyway, that's what's going on there. Speaking of these type of discussions, actually before we get to the Kenny thing, quickly on Heretics. So Ghost of Hope dropped this bomb. I don't know if it's true or not, but he says Miami Heretics are targeting Snoopy to play alongside Rencor and Super for the BO7 season, because if you want to keep the Spanish thing going, then your options are pretty limited, and one option would be to go and pick up Snoopy. Could you get him off Boston? Obviously, if I'm Boston, I'm not trying to sell him. Like, I'm asking for a lot of money. But if Miami wanna make it serious and they're trying to pick up the best other Spanish player and keep some of the talent high, if they can offer enough money, I think Boston would probably take it. But would it work with Snoopy? And who do you bring on as the other SMG in that position, right? You bring in Snoopy and Purge? I don't know. I kind of like it.
I mean,
just keep Metals, no?
Yeah, maybe.
I'd probably just keep Metals at that point. One,
They gotta
Metals
pay
been
for a
there.
buyout, so.
Metals been there. You know, I don't think Metals had the greatest year in terms of his stats, but let me tell you that guy played his heart out the last 2 events, especially EWC was actually fire. You know, he played very, very well, and I just think he deserved to keep a spot in that team. So, if they're gonna do a 1-for-1 trade, yeah, sure, just get Snoopy in for Real and see how it works out. I'm intrigued to know how much Boston would let him go for, because that's their pride and joy. You know?
Yeah, they've been through.
But if we're hearing 100K for Rencor, I'm looking at 30K maybe.
30K only for Snoopy?
I wouldn't set him flat.
I'm talking how much?
What, Heretics?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's worth 30K. I'm saying how much Heretics. Because let's be real.
I'm not selling him for any less than 8.
If they're tripling Real's salary but docking everyone else's salary, they ain't got money.
Yeah, that's the issue. And if you're Boston, it's like you're selling Snoopy to get yourself okay, let's say you sold Snoopy for 50K. That covers you one lot of minimum salary for the year. It ain't really moving the needle. Not to sell your guy.
You might as well just keep him if he's happy to stay there. I mean, if he's not happy, then
You
get
could
rid of
probably
him.
sell Snoopy for more next year, but it depends whether Snoopy signs a new contract, right? Whether whether they do that or whether he doesn't. Because if you're Snoopy, it's probably intelligent, like, to be an unrestricted free agent next year, not re-sign a new deal.
I mean, he just loves Boston as well. Like, you got to tip it. This guy just loves Boston.
Yeah, I can't see Snoopy not being on Boston, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
It does work well. I like it. I like him being there. I think he's only continuing to develop. But I think
You know, I do wish we saw more. I do wish we saw more player trades too. I think a player trade is fine.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, Snoopy and Purge, the prevailing wisdom is they're probably going to stay on Boston, but don't count it out totally. Apparently, Attack just said that Snoopy has got an extension, so there you go. Snoopy locked in to Boston, apparently for some time to come. Now, that's the Spanish stuff for the time being. This was pretty juicy. So Kenny came out with a statement on his stream, and he said that young players in the league are not trying to win. He says he don't mind playing with young players, but the problem is they don't have the right mentality. You can ask them if you want to, and they tell you, yeah, but do they actually play like that on them? And some of them don't know how, and that's fair enough. Obviously, you can look at this, John, and you can say, well, how many young players is Ken actually team with? You know,
His last team.
yeah.
Like Trey said, yeah, his last team. Where were you?
When did we have this discussion? Was it
Yesterday,
the week?
before the show.
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday before the show, yeah.
You know, Kenny wakes up, spawns in, turns his stream on. Yes, and these young guns don't want to win today. We're thinking, oh, young players. We're a fucking team that's like fairly young. Geo.
Yeah.
Astral.
Yeah. I agree with what you were saying before the show, Trey. I'll leave you to say that, but just to comment on what he's saying, I think Ken, just because like I know him very, very well, like, and I also heard some things about the team. I think Ken he had a similar mindset to me, where it's like when I was like playing with Jimbo and playing with such and such, it's like, yeah, these kids are talented, but we're not in a situation where we have time for us to get pooped on and me teach them the game at the same time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, we brought on Jimbo. He's some talented. He had the #1 stats in challengers. He might have been cheating. He probably was cheating for the #1 stats in challengers. But #1 stats. McGee, pick up this kid #1 stats. He barely knows English. We're just gonna lock it in. Hopefully, we can teach him how to play. Mind you, we got 1 win on the whole year. So like it's every series we lose, we're losing. We can't go to champ. So it's like Ken. I don't think Ken is the type of person where he can teach 3 people who've never won how to. I don't think that's his bag, and I don't think. And it's not because he can't, but it's like you don't want to do that. He just won champs. Granted, he was getting cooked. I told him not to play. He wanted to play. He thought he had a chance to do it. He thought his teammates were good playing against him. He was confident, but the bottom tier teams in the league, you're gonna see a difference you're gonna see a difference, bro, playing with Shotzi, Pred, and Dashi. You're gonna see a difference playing with Shotzi, Pred, and Dashi than playing with legit every other team in the league besides a couple. Like, as soon as you leave those caliber of players and then you go, oh shit, these guys don't know. And it's the truth. Even, you know what I'm saying? That just is what it is. There's a huge gap to being a consistent Call of Duty team. And I tried to tell, he basically realized that halfway through, like, once they start choking all the game 5s, you realize, damn, there is a huge gap. These motherfuckers don't really understand all the way what it takes to be consistent and what it takes to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just is what it is. And then he tried, like, I think he had they had a performance coach. He's commented that a performance coach has tried to work with him to try to say what he needs to say in a better, more positive way. And there just hasn't been a big difference. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just the type of person Ken is. He's been doing this shit for 10 years. You're not gonna change the way you talk, because the way you talk to people that know what they're doing, it works. You know what I'm saying? when Pred didn't like the way Ken was talking to him probably when they were getting shit on, but when they were winning, it worked. You know what I'm saying? The way he approaches it works clearly. It's proven fact. So I think just for him, that's why, like I said before, I told him not to play, but him playing with good people, I mean, as also an argument, you can use that against Ken. Damn, he has to play with good people to look good and make his system work. Yeah, he does. When he plays with good,
he's also that guy, so he gets to team with good people.
He's that guy. He wins, so he gets the team with good people.
This is my argument every single fucking time. It's like, oh, Simp wouldn't do anything about a god roster. Yeah, you're right. Simp's not going the fucking. Simp isn't going the Falcons with 3 Saudi Arabians and making them win every single series. He's not. That's facts. But when you're as good at the best players in the world have the best rosters, I don't get the argument. Yeah, Kenny didn't do it with Rocco. Guess what? Because like Don said, he's come from playing with Shotzi, Dashi, and fucking Q, Pred, whatever you want to do, to players that haven't been there like that. And Kenny is good, but Kenny ain't the guy that's going to turn him into a superstar roster. That's just not how it works. It's not. You could put every top player on a different team, and it's not going to change much. But they might win an extra series or something like that because of the firepower that they bring from that one person. But you don't look at a top. It's the same in every single sport. The best players in the world play for their best teams. It's just how it is.
And there's certain people who can bring more out of other people. Like Lamar developed he extended his career by developing a play style, literally sacrificing himself to make their system was flawed, but they somehow won because just the event they won, they got every kill. Whoever's on the breaking point account, I don't know if that's Steve, but Slasher the same example as Ken. Same thing. Slasher, he needs to play on a team where he can ditch and do the things that he does in his system